The Good Morning Portugal Expat Sport Report.
Great to have a little mosh first thing on a Saturday morning. This is the Good Morning Portugal Expat Sport Report. We're based in Portugal. This is part of the Good Morning Portugal Empire, as well as our occasional wine club and our daily live streams, all about life in Portugal for you if you live here or want to live here. This is the Expat Sport Report, which we do every Saturday morning now with our sport genius, Calvin Avery, who is now on the screen with us. Good morning to you, Calvin.
Good morning, bon dia to everybody out there. It's a nice sunny day in Portugal. Glad to be back.
Yeah, I bet you are. Bon dia to you. A nice touch there with the Portuguese. Very good. How's that going?
Yeah. Not at all. I've been in England.
I guess you get some funny looks if you go around in England.
Yeah, Maria knows a lot more than I do now, so I will get to it when I come over.
Superb. Okay, well, a couple of sports fans have joined us already. FD Devane is who's been contributing because you've got more to say about the NHL spot that we had last week, and FD was chipping in on that as well. Pardon the sporting choice of words there. Bon dia to us from FD, who is a Man United fan, I believe, as well, which is nice to complement the mix. You gave it a slightly a strange look there, Calvin. A Man United.
Well, I mean, they're catching me up. Chelsea are doing very well, but Manchester United, I mean, they're on a roll. They're starting to play well. I mean, Pogba is sort of playing out of his skin. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a hard. We'll be talking about this, but they're catching us up and they're doing really, really well.
All right. Hence that look on your face there, striking terror.
Absolutely.
Bon dia from Joseph Marsh in Fundao as well. He's not outed himself as a fan of any particular club, nor have I for that matter so far. But really, if it comes to sport, you want to be listening to Calvin, not me. I'm just here as the anchor man. Yes, anchor, and a self-confessed sporty, unsporty guy. And I'm eager to learn and chip in and be here for the company of men. Hashtag testosterone on a Saturday morning. So, Calvin, what's got your attention this week? What is it? What's the shape of the show for us this week?
To be honest with you, the shape of the show is also about. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Premiership. We'll have news in brief regarding other sports that are going on at the moment, or not, as the case may be. And then moving on to what I think is going to be a sporting event in people's history. I've got my three best sporting events and memorabilia of that time. But I'm sure there are other people out there who've got three good events that they know about in their lifetime. So let's hope that some other ones are going to come up, except for just mine. And yours, I hasten to add. I know you said you've got one. That's a start.
I've got two now, and they're weird. Like as you might imagine, they're a bit weird. But that's how this show rolls. Nobody can be more embarrassed about not knowing much about sport than I can, which I think is.
I think you're doing quite well, actually.
Oh, thank you. Okay, all right. We'll come back to that. Maybe it's my predictions you're talking about. Fernandes, the sole reason we have been revived, says FD. Is that right?
Yeah, they have. I mean, I don't know what Solskjaer's done, but because in my mind, he really isn't what I would call a typical Man United manager. And there was people actually trying to get him out and get somebody else in because he wasn't doing what they expected him to do. But the last, 4 games, they've been exceptional. I mean, really exceptional. I mean, playing people out the park, and they've got a good young side, and that can only get better next season. So. I'd watch United. They're really, really, really doing something. And hands up to Solskjaer for doing what he's doing at the moment. I mean, which is quite exceptional when you think of the background that he had, which is in Norwegian football, and he's now come over to here and he's doing quite well now. And he's had some barracking, trust me, and got through it.
Yeah. That's all part of the job, I guess. Norwegian football is not something you hear much about very often, is it? Joseph said, I'm not a massive football fan, but my family is Tottenham. Spurs fans there. So we've got a really nice mix developing, haven't we? Owen with Man City. And I can't remember what Wayne said last week. What did Wayne say? Might have insulted him by accusing him of being a Leeds fan. What did he say?
Yeah, he did. No, he did mention Leeds because that's where he's come from. But I don't think that was the team that he was following in the Premiership. But Leeds probably come up anyway, so he probably might start supporting Leeds again. But on that last trip, it says about Fernandes, the Portuguese player. I mean, I can tell you now, he has revolutionised the way he's playing in midfield. He's such a superb player. I'm absolutely amazed that nobody else went for him. He was a good player, and he used to play for Sporting Lisbon, so he was a good player.
Excellent. All right, so maybe we should stick with the football. Are we checking? Excuse me. Tarada's gone down the wrong way there. Are we checking in with our predictions and how we got on?
We are. Yeah, I mean, we're going to go on to this week's predictions as well, but we will be touching on that. But the gentleman that came on just a minute ago regarding Tottenham, I want to talk about them as well because, to be honest with you, I know he's a massive family of Tottenham, but I think they're in real trouble. Real trouble. It's not a happy camp at all. We'll go through that in a minute.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it sounds like you're breaking the news to him badly there. And yeah,
I think he'll agree. Actually, he should agree to that.
All right, fair play. To complete the lineup, we haven't mentioned Arsenal so far, but I think Stephen's here now, who is a Gunner. Good morning to you, Stephen.
Morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good. Looks like I don't know if you know, Carl, but while I was isolating in Portugal, I was staying with Steve in his house. He was very kindly let me stay with him. This is his man cave in the loft that you can see. The one last week I was running around trying to get a signal, and he's very IT. Steve, he got me back on, but he's sitting in his loft at the moment and probably loving the fact that I'm not there.
Is that true, Steve?
I wouldn't exactly say loving, but it was nice to walk around naked for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't do that in your own man cave, where can you? And that, I guess if it's a bit like an alpha male thing, it must be a bit weird. You having another fella walking about in your man cave. Like, fair enough.
Yeah.
You've got it back now.
It was a bit odd. Yeah. I actually had to put some trousers on for this interview, though. You know.
Well, we didn't bother, but it's very good of you.
Oh, dear.
So, if you want to introduce yourself, all we know about you so far, you're in or near London there, and you are an Arsenal fan. Do you want to say anything about their recent performance, or make any apologies or anything like that?
Well, yeah. Well, it's been a tough season, very tough for Arsenal supporter. Hopefully things are going to turn around for us a little bit. I'm hoping. You know, you've got a big game, the London Derby this week. What's Calvin predicted?
Well, I've actually predicted, again, I hasten to add, not because you're my brother-in-law, but I actually think that Arsenal will give Tottenham a bit of a footballing lesson because they're just not playing well, Tottenham. So I'm with Steve on this. I think Arsenal was actually going to give Tottenham a real game. But my predictions have been wrong, Carl.
We have noted that. There's still time, not a lot, but there is still time to redeem yourself. Difficult time to make predictions. Difficult time to do any bleeding thing at the moment. But,
yes.
Steve, sorry to cover you up for a minute, but there's a massive comment that's just come in from FD whilst we're chatting here. We'll bring you back as soon as we can. He's got the team playing the United way again. All right, the United way. I feel Ole was struggling. Ollie, was struggling earlier in the season because he did not have the important elements in midfield. As I think, as you have alluded to, Calvin, Pogba did not necessarily wish to lead the midfield. Fernandes is the general we needed in the engine. Academy players like Greenwood have blossomed wonderfully. Very good analysis there, I think.
Yeah, very good. I mean, he's hit the nail on the head with Greenwood. I mean, he's a young player coming through. Like Lampard bringing the youngsters through at Chelsea. I mean, Ollie's starting to bring the youngsters through at Man United. But I think with the experience of Fernandes and Pogba, I know Pogba can be a bit of a loose cannon at times, but he has got a lot of experience. He's a World Cup winner. So he will bring those youngsters through. And, I think United are going to be a team to be reckoned with. I'm sure the fact that I'm actually saying that, Owen's going to be on in a minute. Otherwise.
He'll be here, I'm sure, at some point. Yeah, there is another team in Manchester, apparently. Okay, so do carry on with your analysis, Calvin.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're going to start with Wayne for last week. I mean, I have to say that his knowledge of the NHL was something to behold. He really knows what he's talking about. But the problem is now he's got me hooked on this game, and I never thought I would. I'm watching YouTube best goals, best player, best manager, and I'm getting absolutely hooked. And I think at some point on my bucket list is going to go to Canada. And when I go there, that's the first thing on my list. And see one of them games. Yeah. The trouble is, it's so fast. You know, you a puck one end to the other. You know, can be done in seconds a goal, and you have to watch it in slow motion again to really actually see the skill of what these players can do. I mean, some of the stuff that they do is phenomenal, especially on ice skates as well. You know, and or speed skates, I would imagine. But the supporters, I don't know how they see it. I really don't know how they see it. And one of the questions I was going to ask Wayne last time was that the screens, do they have big screens and they slow it down so they can see it? Because if it's just real time all the time, you're not going to see all of the best stuff that these guys are doing.
Maybe it's. I was just going to say, your missus is glad to have you back then, so glued to the YouTube watching NBA. Anyway, yeah, this thing. I mean, it's probably a bit like watching going to the Grand Prix or watching Coldplay at Glastonbury. I mean, you just don't get to see anything really, except for a few seconds every now and then. And you're, I suppose, you're living on the atmosphere rather than seeing direct gameplay.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it is a fascinating game, and the more you watch it, the more you want to get involved. And I'm actually going to talk to Wayne about which team I should be supporting for the season because
okay,
it's good. I'll tell you, it's a good sport. It really is a good sport. But he did ask me to look up Wayne Krzyzewski. Do you remember? He said there's a wonderful player. I looked him up, and he played for 20 seasons, which is quite remarkable in that kind of a sport and the punishment they take. He played for, I'm not sure if it's 4 leagues or 4 teams. I want Wayne to sort of put me right on this. But since 1979 to 1999, he played for those 4 seasons. And I've got to say, his nickname was the Great One, unlike Mourinho, who was a special one, which he called himself. This guy was called the Great One by all his peers, so he's obviously good. But I watched him on YouTube, and this guy is a serious player. No wonder they call him a legend. And I thank, I'm not sure if I'll thank Wayne for putting me into this sport, but I don't think Maria's going to be very happy at the time I'll be watching that.
Right. Apparently, it's expensive watching an NHL game in Toronto. $200 minimum to watch a game. Pint of beer for $15. That's more expensive than London. Pint of beer, or is it? Pint of beer for $15. But it's an amazing experience. And you're being told to support the Leafs, who haven't won.
Oh, right.
67, but hope is last. Okay, I'm
going to write that down. But I'm hoping that Wayne might give me a better one. But I'll go with that.
It's the Leafs or the Habs, apparently, are the two I'm aware of. And maybe you could be the lucky charm and you could do the bucket listing. If you start supporting them and they start winning, then you'll get flown over there as the lucky charm.
I will put that out, actually. Yeah, we will put that out. Yeah,
that's a good idea. Story up as a way of getting you over to Canada. Or all of us, for that matter.
Yeah, well, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. Anyway, moving on to a bit of Europe. This is an amazing story, really. When you think that Ronaldo left last season to go to Juventus, everyone thought that Real Madrid would take a long time to come back and collapse. Well, they're only 2 games away from winning the league above Barcelona. I mean, that's some feat, really, when you think about it. And I've got to say that he'll be forgotten very quickly, I would imagine, if they go and win this regarding the winning of the league, because if they could do it without him, because he actually thought that nobody could win that league without him himself. So, we'll see what happens. But long live Real Madrid and see you later, Ronaldo, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Man City. Man City are to learn whether or not they're going to be playing in Europe next season. I don't know if you know much about this, and I was hoping Owen was going to come in here. But they were... allegedly committed a serious breach of UEFA's financial rules, and because of that, they got fined, and they've been told that they're going to be not allowed back into Europe for a given time. They've actually asked if they can repute that, and then let's see what happens on Monday. But I think the heavy fine of 30 million that they've already got says that they will get probably a year. I think it'd probably be a year ban, but if it's more, it's more. But that begs the differ whether Pochettino will stay, because if he's not in Europe, which is what he loves, will he stay at Man City? Again, that one's back to Owen. But it's a strange situation, that.
I'm sure he'll comment if he's listening, or he'll come back to us on the replay. But I mean, yeah, what's it like for fans when something comes to bite you from the past like that? And it's obviously to do with politics and the law, obviously.
Yeah, the financial side of it, where you may be buying players where you shouldn't have done, and the amount of money you're paying, and there's a lot of things going on there. But a club of that size shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. But they are, so we'll have to see what happens there. I don't know what you think, Steve, regarding Man City.
I think, well, I'm still trying to digest when things come to bite you from the past. You know what I mean? I mean, Arsenal have been out of Europe for a long time. That's not really a bite from the past; it's a bite from the present. I mean, I can't even count the UEFA. The European Cup, the silly cup that we keep getting knocked out of, as properly being in Europe. That's like me visiting France for the day,
Yeah, it's a strange thing. But I mean, I'm going to allude to this in a minute regarding Arsenal and their European chances. So we'll come back to that. Did you get a comment from that, Carl, just then? I'm sure I saw something flash up regarding City.
Just a United fan making the most of the situation, basically. I was going to ask you what you get for 30 million these days. Is that like a hand of a good football player? I mean, is that a big amount of money as a fine?
Well, to be honest, a club the size of that, no, it's not a big fine. And you're right, it's probably a hand or a foot, depending on how good the player is. But to be honest with you, I just think it's the thought that they won't be in Europe. And if they're not going to be in Europe, it's going to seriously damage Man City's. I mean, when they've got the players they've got, and if they miss a year, those players, someone will go and it'll change, and they'll get new players, and they may not be as good. This was a good time for them to stay in Europe. I mean, they're still in this European Cup at the moment, and even if they win that, you'd automatically play in the next one. But if they do win it, they still won't go through. So it might be that. We'll talk about Arsenal in a minute. There might be another position coming up. So if Man City don't get it, they'll go down to the next team in the top four, be the fifth one, and then the Europa League comes into play as well. So there is 2 more European places up for grabs.
It's not the fault of the fans or the players, is it? This is the problem. These things are not the fault of the fans or the players, but who suffers? The fans do.
Yep, exactly right. Yeah, and then it's the company itself, Man City, that have put them in this position.
What's happening with Steve? Is he meditating? Or is
I think he's
praying for a kind of win. Oh no, he froze up there, Steve, in a very contemplative pose. And the same again, I think. We're getting some nice screenshots of Steve anyway.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
That's right. Yes. Reliving the pain of last Saturday. I'm
breaking up a little bit. I keep freezing.
We got you back. We can hear you. That's the main thing.
Yeah. I thought his daughter may have come up to his man cave, and he's gone, oh my God.
Yes, this is the man cave. knock and wait, like being back at school. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. It looks like it's a 3-horse race now for that third position, and then that's got to be Chelsea, Leicester, and Man United. And there's, like I say, very small amount of points now between them to see who's going to get in that position. But my money with the run that the teams are in is going to be Chelsea and Man United. They're the ones in form. Leicester's, they've won, drawn, lost. So I'm not sure whether they're going to make it. But, in saying that, Jamie Vardy, who's their forward, hasn't scored for a little while, and he's now gone and knocked in 3 in the last 2 games. So, but he's playing well. Leicester play well. So it's going to be a really tight race. I think at the end of the season, they're all playing each other. Chelsea play Wolves, Leicester play Man United. So it's going to be tough. I mean, really tough to see who goes through.
And when is it all going to be done and dusted, the Premiership? And
the in a couple of weeks' time, it should be all over and done with. I'll get that. I haven't got the exact date, but because keep moving things, so I'll get the dates for you.
Well, and then we'll be focusing on more on
we'll be talking about ice skating then.
Darts and stuff like that. Okay, and fishing.
Darts. Yeah, I don't mind darts and fishing. That's good.
Okay.
It's just as exciting, actually, at the bottom of the league. I mean, you've got 4 teams down there fighting for a position as well. And, there's only about 4 points, between them, as in who's going to go down. So it's exciting at the top of the league and at the bottom of the league. The middle of the table is just teams are fighting for their bonuses to see how high they get. But it's really, really tight at the top and the bottom. Again, I'm going to go back to Arsenal now. Arsenal making a massive run into this European position. They could come 5th and get into Europa, but because if Man City go out, they could even snatch 4th place if they win all their games coming up. Steve's obviously gone now, but he will probably tell you that they're playing extraordinarily well, and they've won their last 3 games. And they should have won. Actually, no, sorry, they've won 3 games, but they drew with Leicester, but they should have won that game. But I'll have to say that if they keep playing like that, and if they beat Tottenham today, they're going to be a serious contender of getting into one of those European spots. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I just came back at the right moment there, didn't I? I thought he was going to be lashing Arsenal, but yeah.
No.
Well, I was disappointed with the result, really. We should have done better. I mean, the red card, that was a high talking point for Vardy not to get one. And obviously, Eddie and Nketiah too have got the red card in that game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know, really. I mean, Jamie Vardy obviously scored that last goal, but I have to say that if Arsenal hadn't lost his player, I think they would have won that, gone ahead and won it by a few goals, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we were all over them at just before half time, and they were lucky, really, to keep some of the chances out. But, I mean, VAR, it's not been our friend this season, like it's hard to understand it, really, like how they can take 10 minutes to make that decision about it, Eddie and Nketiah, but 30 seconds over the Vardy incident with the boot in the face.
Yeah. Vardy's got that in him, unfortunately, to lash out at the end of it. But good player all the same. But moving on to Spurs, which you might want to comment on as well. I think this is where I was talking about Spurs, Cole. I think Tottenham are in real trouble. They've got Daniel Levy won't spend any money for next season, so Mourinho will only want money to build that team up. And if he doesn't give him the money, where's Mourinho going to stand? I honestly think that Kane next season will look at where he is. He's 27 now. He hasn't won anything with Tottenham, and I seriously think he'll move on. And my hunch is he'll go to United. And if he goes to United, they're going to be even better. I think Tottenham are going to lose him. There are a lot of Tottenham fans out there going to say, no way, he's a Tottenham boy. But if you don't win anything, and he's 27, he's going to go. He is going to go. And if he goes, that means Ali will go, Song will go. And just to say that they're in disarray is an understatement. I mean, last week, they were having fights on the pitch, the 2 players, the goalkeeper and the forward for Tottenham. So they are in trouble, big trouble. And I think seriously they'll have problems next season. And that's assuming Mourinho's still there. I hate to say this about Mourinho because he used to be Chelsea's manager and he was a great manager at that. But he's really gone backwards. I mean, all these young managers have taken over. He's just not using the skills that he should be using to keep them up. So what do you think, Steve, regarding Tottenham?
Yeah, Tottenham are definitely having a few issues at the moment. Well, obviously it makes me happy. Makes any Arsenal fan happy when they see another London side struggling the way Tottenham have been. I just don't see, they just haven't got any togetherness, if you like. They don't seem to be playing for each other.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I just think they're in trouble, big trouble. I just see Frank's on the line now, so he must have some words to say about Man United. It is Man United, isn't it, Frank?
He's not saying anything at the moment.
He's not saying anything.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, Frank,
He's
it is Man
meditating
United
like I
you support. Yeah. It is Man United you support, Frank, yeah?
He's just stroking his chest and his
Yeah,
badge.
yeah.
We can't, Frank, we can't hear you. You unmute yourself or have a little fiddle with your settings there. And
I'll come Frank, I'll come back to you. I'm just going to talk very quickly about the championship. I still think he does. Yeah, I still think that Leeds and West Brom are going to run away with this championship. But I'll tell you, Fulham and Brentford are always knocking on the door. Every time Leeds and West Brom win, they win as well. So it only takes one of those two to have a hiccup, and one of those two is going to actually jump into that first or second place. So that's really, really exciting, the championship. But it is as is exciting for fifth place. There's about sixth place there. There's about 7 teams up for grabs. 7 teams can pick that position up within the next few games. And it also goes down to the last 4. And there's 8 teams that could go down. So the championship is just as exciting as the Premiership. And, it's quite good, really, the first 2 division teams. I don't watch much of the first and second leagues, but I will do as of next week to give you a report on that. Looks like Steve's gone again. But we'll go back to Frank. Frank, how do you think Man United are doing? Is he getting? We're still not getting him.
No, we've got a little bit of a problem with the connection with Frank, but we're a bit delayed getting to him, and then we're not hearing him because he's not got his audio. But he is making a comment now. We just can't hear it, sadly.
No.
So maybe pop that in the comments there, Frank. Unplug your headset or whatever. See what you can do to get your.
It's all right. I can lip read. I think he said Arsenal were the greatest. They should be number 1.
I think you're right. I noticed that as well. That's amazing. What a gift. What a gift you have there. He's shaking his head now, though, for some reason.
No. Actually, moving on to the predictions now. Last week, we did have a number of predictions. I'm not going to go for every single one, but we've beat our record, Carl. We've got 2 instead of 1. Right? So 1 was for Wayne. Two predictions right. Wayne got 1 and I got 1. So we're going up. First week, the latter week was 1, and now we've got 2. So we're gonna now with Stephen and Frank. Hopefully we can get 3, but we're gonna try. So I'm gonna go through these with the pair of you, or if Frank can hear us yet. But we'll go through these predictions.
Frank's getting us in his ears, but he's not been able to respond. So Frank, with your predictions for the games, pop them in the comments, immortalize them in the comments, where you'll be held accountable for next week.
Right, okay. So my predictions are Norwich 1, West Ham 2. Oh,
I'm going to go for a draw there, 1-1.
1-1. Steve?
I think 3-1.
3-1 to Norwich?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, Steve, right? Yeah, no, listen, mate, you'll probably beat us hands down.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not sure if Frank can hear us yet, but
there we go. Look, he's good. Perfect.
Yeah, 3-1 to Hammers. Well done. And that's FD.
And Premiership not his first language. He's Canadian. I believe.
It's true, yeah. Right. Watford, Newcastle. Now, Watford are fighting for their lives, and I actually think they can beat Newcastle 1-0. Carl?
I'm going to go for another draw of 1-1 there.
Okay. Steve?
I think I'm going to agree with Calvin in this one. I think Watford need it more than Newcastle, so I think they're going to try and score
1-0 for you as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Frank, are you there yet?
Frank is getting it. He'll put his prediction in for the moment. The problem he thinks is that he's being stitched up by Chelsea fans, and that's why we're not letting him speak. There is no truth in that rumour.
I've been quite good about United, I thought. So yeah, we'll see what happens next. Okay, Liverpool.
What 1-0 saying there? It's a slight delay.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay.
Okay, Liverpool and Burnley. I'm going to go Liverpool 4-0.
Yes, I would say 3-0, but yeah.
3-0.
Walk in the park.
They'll only get 2. I don't think they'll get 4. I think they'll get 2.
2-0?
Yeah, 2-0.
What's the Burnley form like then, Calvin?
No, they're playing quite well. In fact, Sean Dyche is basically performing miracles with that team. And as I said last week, I'm amazed that he hasn't been picked up by a bigger club or gone to Europe. I really haven't. They've even named a pub after him in Burnley. It's called the Dyche. Royal Dyche or something. Yeah, that's it. If my memory in the news, I'm right. It's the Royal Dyche. So that's what they've called it.
Amazing. I bet they had a great time last weekend, opening up at 6 a.m. and celebrating the opening of the pub and coming back from lockdown. Still hungover.
But FD's gone 1-0 Burnley. I can't believe that. He obviously hates Liverpool.
He's letting his emotions get in the way there, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. Now then, this one's a tricky game, this one. Sheffield versus Chelsea. I'm obviously going to go Chelsea, but Sheffield United are playing out of their skin at the moment. They really are. So I'm going to go 1-2. So it'll be 1 to Sheffield and 2 to Chelsea. What about you?
And this is at Bramall Lane?
Yep.
2-1 to the Blades.
No!
Well, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
going to go 1-0.
You're going to go 1-0 no? Right, Steve, I'm talking to you again.
Yeah.
What's Frank doing? Stay with me, Frank, on this one.
This could be a complete,
a
complete turn on Chelsea now.
Yeah, he probably got 10-0 or something.
1-1.
Okay, fair enough. 1-1, fair enough. Okay, Brighton, Man City. Again, Brighton are struggling, but they got a good side. But I think I'm going to go 1-3. So Brighton 1, Man City 3. Oh.
I would say Man City going to win that 2-0.
Okay, fine. And Steve?
Yeah, but I think Man City will win 4-0.
Okay, that's fair enough. And then we'll wait for FD. Wolves versus Everton. 1-1. Oh, well, I got that one. Wolves versus Everton. Wolves aren't 4-1. Okay. I don't think that Wolves are playing that well, and they've sort of dropped out of the race for fourth place. So I think this might be a draw, 1-1.
All right. I'm going to agree with you on that.
Okay. Steve?
I think they'll grind out another win. I think it's going to be 1-0 to Wolves.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like Aston Villa and Crystal Palace, this game here is really, really important. I mean, Villa have got to win it. They've got to win it to stand a chance of getting out of that bottom 4. So it's at home. Crystal Palace lost against Chelsea, and so I'm going to go 1-0 Villa.
Where are Palace in the Premiership?
Mid-table, well, mid to high. Just a couple of points above middle.
Okay, and Villa have got to sort of play their hearts out and go for it.
Absolutely, yeah. They got to win it to stand any chance of actually staying up.
All right, let's go for a gritty 3-1 then.
Ooh,
okay.
3-1. What about you, Steve?
I think it's going to be a real low-scoring game. It's either going to be a 0-0 or 1-0.
Well, I'll put you down for 1-0.
I think Palace will win it.
Yeah. What? 1-0?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fair enough. I didn't get Wolves. I didn't get FD's Wolves game against Everton. What was that?
1 apiece there.
For Tottenham Arsenal. Steve, now this is your game. I'm actually, because of what you said, I'm going to go Tottenham 10.
He's not bitter.
Yeah. Can Arsenal get a minus score?
Yeah. I think it'll be tight because it's a derby, but I think it'll be 2-1 to Arsenal. Carl?
What normally happens in this situation? You know, like with Chelsea and West Ham and the difficulty Chelsea have with West Ham that we discussed before. What tends to happen with the Gunners and Spurs?
Well, my opinion is that this nip and tuck, really, it goes either way. But Tottenham have won quite a couple, actually, recently. How do you think, Steve? I mean, it normally goes either way. It's not nobody's actually come out on tops with these, have they?
Well, Arsenal have the better record against Tottenham.
Oh, well, yeah, I thought that.
Yeah. I'm telling you the truth here. It's not like we're playing Chelsea. You know what I mean? Chelsea's like 50-50.
Yeah.
I just think we're a much better drilled side, so I'm going to have to go with the win. And I think we've had more clean sheets as well of late, so I'm going to go 2-0 to the Arsenal.
2-0. Okay. What about you, Carl?
A 3-1 win to Arsenal. An exciting match.
That's only because you want Steve back on.
I've ridiculous things. I've got, his ratings are really good.
Has FD come up with it? Oh, yeah, 2-1.
Yeah,
2-1.
All in agreement there, I think, aren't we?
Yeah. 2-1. What, 2-1 to Tottenham? Yeah. Oh, no, Arsenal win 1-2. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bournemouth,
Leicester. Yeah. Bournemouth, Leicester. I'm going to go 2-0 to Leicester.
Same again, actually. Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah. 1-0 to Leicester.
1-0 to Leicester. And wait for FD. Is there a reason why FD's photograph isn't the same as?
Well, I was wondering that. I mean, he's got his Saturday sports guy look for sure, hasn't he? And then he's got his Lisbon hipster look, I think, for when he goes out of an evening in Lisbon. Yeah,
it's a very cool-looking photograph.
Sort of Superman sort of a look, innit?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You can tell it's the same guy, but there's that much of a difference.
Yeah.
I think it's a cat. Yeah, when the cat comes off, it won't be the same, I don't think.
And there's the Frank calendar with 12 different types of Frank that you can get as well.
Yeah.
It'll be on sale before the new year.
Yeah, you'll have to get the emoji. We'll have to get the FD emojis out.
And I think we're because we're taking advantage of him not being able to reply. The what we're saying is getting more and more outrageous. So let's see what happens by 11 o'clock.
Right, last one, Matt. Yeah, I'm going to let Frank come up with this last one first. Right, Frank, Man United, Southampton. What do you think?
Yeah, he's just cranking out a bitter retort on his keyboard.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's all right. Nice one, guys.
Nice one, guys. Right, well, I'll go for United 2 and Southampton 1.
I'm going to go for 4-1.
Right.
Yeah.
Score.
That's caused an awkward silence. Carl obviously doesn't know what he's talking about, but there we go. But we all knew that.
3-1.
3-1. And we'll wait on FDs now.
There he is. 2-0. A very modest offering of 2.
Yeah, very, very. I actually thought that he would go a bit higher than that, the way they're playing. But Southampton
no, that's 20,
on a bad
20
side.
to United.
It's a in every match. 30.
yeah, 30 now. Yeah. Well, that's done our news in brief. Not news, but our predictions. But I think we may have a chance, Carl, of getting 3 this time.
Right. Okay, well, the expectations are set very low. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, they are. But we want to get you on the leaderboard, Carl. That's what we want to do. I'm not sure about the was it the Man City 4-0 though, but I mean we'll see how it goes.
Well, you know what we're trying to do here? We are trying to get me to be like the Oracle. He knows nothing about football or sport, but he gets these results consistently right. And then we will get invited to places.
Okay, all right, fine. Anyway, I'm going to give you a bit of a news in brief now before we go on to the main topic. Max Verstappen has done the fastest lap recorded before the F1 race. He's in second practice, that is. But Lewis Hamilton's came sixth. Now, I think Steve and I actually watched this race last week, and really Hamilton was just easing into first place, but because of the first and second ruling in the same team, he had to stay second, but then he got penalised near the end, and they put him into fourth place. So he's going to be going out to win this next one. But those two cars are just Mercedes have got them. Nobody's going to beat those two. What do you reckon, Steve?
Yeah, it was a very, although it wasn't really much happening in the race, as in like not much overtaking. It was a real good race to watch. Did you also hear about Hamilton getting 7 points in his license, so he could miss a race?
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they've got he's, because of the penalties he's picked up. He's on can only get 12 points for the season. And if you get obviously the 12 points, he actually will miss a race. The money's on 7, so if he gets any more, he could end up probably losing the championship. Oh
dear. Because I really rate Hamilton, but we'll have to see what happens then. Because he wants to get that lead off of Mark Schumacher, but we'll have to see how it goes. Anyway, we're going to move quickly, so I want to get on to that last bit. Cricket. Basically, West Indies are giving us a lesson here, and in the second moment of the England look of how they're playing in the test. I mean, basically, they're 114 on day 3 at Southampton. In my opinion, dropping Stuart Broad is a big mistake. I don't think that was a good idea, and England being made to suffer. Rugby union, all clubs are supervisedly having contact sports now, and they're rescheduled to play on the 14th of August. So that's good news. And moving on from that, I have written another tennis. Right now, this is a good. I nearly fell off my chair when I read this. Right? Wimbledon are going to give £10 million of prize money to the players who were going to play at this Wimbledon. Yeah, so they divvy that out to all the. Now, what's the point of that? Just because some tennis players in the lower part, in the echelons of maybe number 200 and 250, don't get as much as the Andy Murrays and Djokovic. But they're going to divvy it out. So they're going to give out £10 million without being played, just to give the players the money which they would have lost because they didn't play that tournament. They'd been better off giving that money to grassroots tennis. I just can't believe it. It's just a nonsense. Why would you give £10 million worth of prize money away and they're not playing anything?
That is really weird. It's almost like sort of X Factor, isn't it? Where kids will be like, "Oh, you get money for not playing," or like in the case of X Factor, you get money for not being famous after a year or whatever. But that's bizarre, isn't it? It's another kind of weird way of like sending out the wrong message that you can be rewarded for not doing anything.
I will have to keep watching that because I just think that's bizarre, and I think a lot of people will be writing in about that. Moving on to golf quickly. Tiger Woods will be back, which is good news. He's been away because of his back problems, but he's had a back problem for the last 5 years, so that doesn't really change. But he wants to get back the trophy that he won for the Masters, and when he gets that, I think he'll be happy. It's good to see Tiger back. Golf isn't golf without Tiger Woods around. Athletics. This is a bizarre story. Noah Lyle. I don't know if you know Noah Lyle, but he ran the 200 meters in the fastest time ever. So he beat Usain Bolt, right? The unthinkable thing happened, though. The track was 15 meters short than any other track in Europe, right? So even though he won and he was jumping around because he saw the time and he was the fastest runner of all time, 200 meters, they've taken it away from him because the track was 15 meters shorter than any legal one. And I mean, I'll be gutted, absolutely gutted if that happened to me. If I'd just beaten Usain Bolt as the fastest runner at 200 meters and to be said, Oh, it's 15 meters short, mate. So unlucky.
It's a really great way of breaking world records, though. To be fair.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I could have a world record of doing that.
You could, yeah. The quickest over a yard you'd be, wouldn't you? You'd be good.
Yeah, but we call it 200. We call it 200 because that's how I measured it out, and I didn't check. And there I am beating Usain Bolt.
Now, this I know that Carl, you like a bit of cycling, and I know Steve does as well. Both of you cycle quite a lot. But I don't know if you know, but Chris Froome has been dropped from the Sky team for next season, and that's because of his age, I think, not because of anything else. But he's the most successful cycling Tour de France winner of all time. I thought it was Bradley Wiggins, but obviously it's not as Chris Froome. But he's been dropped, unfortunately, so he won't be racing. I don't know if you two watch it. Do you watch cycling? Because I don't watch a lot of it, but he's obviously quite good, Chris Froome.
I don't watch it specifically. I see it coming up, but I think my age is going to go against me as well with that. So sadly, I don't know about you, Steve. Do you fancy a chance?
I don't really watch it. No, I can't say I do.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I only put that out because you both cycle a lot. I mean, Steve seems to cycle. He says to me, right, I've gone to Dagenham, I've gone here, I've gone there, and he does it in seconds. He's just gone and he's back within seconds. So I don't know how fast he is, but he's obviously quite quick. I know you go out and cycle a lot, Steve. Carl, I mean.
Yeah.
Go on, Steve.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's because I work for Deliveroo, so I've got to be quite quick.
Yeah.
I haven't thought of that.
Okay. All right. Well, we're now moving over to the big topic of the day, and that is getting to the topic of the most memorable moment, or the most 3 memorable moments in sporting history that you've seen and you've had some knowledge on, and it's probably changed your life, or you can't forget it. And my 3 are Sebastian Coe winning the Olympics, 1980 Moscow Olympics, where he should have won the 800. He was by far the best runner for that, but Steve Novak won it. And then to come back and win the 1500, which wasn't his favoured run, but he still won it. And he actually fell on the floor to his knees. And it was just a remark, because everybody wanted Steve Coe to win it, the 800, but he didn't. And everybody, the country was rooting for him to win the 1500, and he did. And he's that good that he went and won the Olympics again 4 years later, where he beat Steve Kramanovic for the 1500 meters again. But that stuck in my mind. I used to run myself when I was a kid, and I really, really thought that was a brilliant time in history of sporting events. The second one is Muhammad Ali. It has to be Muhammad Ali. When he beat George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, I remember watching that as a kid, and I've got to say that it blew me away, the fact that George Foreman was absolutely pummeling him for, I don't know, up to about 13 rounds, and he just stood in the corner and let him hit him. And he kept talking to him saying, that didn't hurt, right? And which really wound him up. And he kept saying, but he knew that he was going to get hit all the time by George Foreman. But if he covered up, George Foreman would actually get exhausted. And it's exactly what he did. And once he got it, he picked him off. So that, to me, is true sporting legend, Muhammad Ali. I mean, obviously for other things he's done, but that day really made me think, what a boxer, what a boxer. And the last one is because I actually Wimbledon at 17. And, everybody was having a go at him for jumping around, diving all about. He's only 17, but he won Wimbledon, and he beat the likes of the players. He didn't actually beat McEnroe, but McEnroe was in that time, and so was Lendl, and so was Connors. Some big players there, and he actually went and won it at 17. So to me, that was a sporting legend, and it made me think a lot about tennis when I saw him do that live. So they're my 3. Steve, we're going to go to you now. What's your 3 most favourite moments of sporting history?
I'd have to be seeing Linford Christie win the 100 metres.
I remember
Olympics. That. Yeah. Then I think the Anthony Joshua fight against Klitschko. I think that was like a more modern one. Like, seeing once again Britain strive, and then seeing Arsenal, the unbeatables, Invincible season.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Actually,
like at the time, you didn't really know what you was watching, but then, like, obviously, that's a record that stood for a while now, so it's got to be one of my top 3.
yeah, I've got to say, yeah, I forgot about that one. I don't know why I forgot about that one, but anyway, I did forget that one. But that was some feat. I mean, when you think that Liverpool came very, very close this season to doing that, very, very close, and they didn't have as many draws as Arsenal, but they haven't done it, so your record stands. So yeah, I forgot all about that, and that's a good one, really good one. Carl, over to you. Now I know you only said you did one.
No, I've caught up with you now, and it's a bit anecdotal.
Okay.
You might expect, but I'm just going to quickly put a couple of comments in before I say it. There's Frank's. He's just made his screen red in some Man United gesture. But those Frank 3, Ali Roper, Dope West Foreman, United winning Champions League 2008. Is that right? And Brazil winning World Cup in 2002. And our mission is complete here. This is too tribal for Ty. Far too much testosterone floating around. Our job is done here, gentlemen. Looking forward to the morning show again on Monday, but enjoy, gentlemen. Maybe some ladies too. Well, ladies are very welcome. Ladies are absolutely welcome, as is the vogue in all. I mean, we're lucky to have jobs here, aren't we? I mean, I use the term very loosely.
Absolutely.
All sports reporting is done by women now, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of it is. Yeah, they really do. I mean, I might have a coach to talk about netball, women's netball. So I'll get that individual on, hopefully, and they can talk about ladies' netball teams. Because that's really good, the netball in the Olympics. And, England doing very, very well. And, women's sports is, especially football, I mean, that's incredible, really. And we'll probably do a talk on that as well, because I saw the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, and we were unlucky not to actually go through to the finals in that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I joke when I say it's like a testosterone zone, and about enjoying the company of men on a Saturday morning, but that's part of it. And it boosts my cred up a little bit, hanging out with you fellas. But all are welcome. All are absolutely welcome here. My sporting memories, and I remembered when you said it. Oh God, I haven't thought of anything, and now I've got too many, I think. And they are a bit weird, as you might expect, but because I said to you before, I went to that Bonetti testimonial with my dad. That was an early sporting memory. I mean, it wasn't an amazing sporting event because you know what testimonials were like, but it was Man United and Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. So it was like a really special thing, but I hated it. I was too young and cold, and I think it was the first time my dad got really embarrassed about me and my relationship to sport. So that's really etched in my mind. The other day, I was reminded of when I was watching the snooker final back in the 80s, and the Iranian embassy siege came on because I was watching that movie, and I remember that afternoon. Is it a bank holiday, isn't it? Probably,
probably.
The final, Alex Higgins is playing. And then we interrupt this broadcast to bring you live footage of the Iranian embassy being, it was under siege, and the SAS are just climbing in, abseiling down and chucking flash grenades through the window, and suddenly the snooker final is replaced by the climax of the Iranian embassy siege. Another really special thing for me, and you're going to have to help me here. This is. The World Cup where England did kind of well with Peter Crouch in the squad, and it was when I was trying to embrace my inner football geezer, and I lived in Devon at the time, and I started going to pubs that were showing the World Cup in Devon, and I took my daughter, who must have been, I don't know, early teens or something, and we just had the most amazing time with that World Cup campaign. 2000 and what would that be? 6 or what is that?
I'd have to look that up. I mean, when Crouch was playing, it might have been around that time.
And he was pretty amazing. It was his Crouch's robot, and every time he got the ball, the pub would go mad because that sort of relationship people have with him. That he's a kind of he's a figure of ridicule in some ways, isn't he? And undoubtedly skillful, and man of the moment occasionally. And it was just electric in these pubs, and the pubs would have a barbecue out in the yard. Like you can imagine, like in rural Devon, what the atmosphere was like: kids, chickens, barbecue, beer, and England on the big screen. It was fantastic. Really had a great time doing that. And then you reminded me, my old man used to take me to boxing. This is a moment, not a special sporting moment, a special sporting moment for me, when my dad used to take me to a lot of boxing. And it was in the early days of Frank Bruno's career. And we used to see him. Yeah. And, it'd be okay, but then the next match would be up. It'd be Frank Bruno. Frank Bruno would take a couple of steps towards his opponent, chin him, and that'll be it. And there must be a load of blokes whose claim to fame is being knocked out by Frank Bruno in his early career. Loads of them, because that's what his early career was like. Yeah. And then next thing we know, we're watching more matches. And Frank Bruno comes out. He's back in his suit. He's sat watching the rest of the game, the tournament. And I take my program over to him. And I remember, boxing programs are brilliant. My old man used to bring him back from nights out, and they'd have blood on them because he'd sit near the front, and there would literally be blood-spattered boxing programs. And I asked Frank Bruno if he'd sign it for him, and he just put F Bruno, a very simple signature, and it's now hanging up in my old barber shop in Devon. So shout out to my barber in Devon, who's now got that actual signature up in the barbershop there, which is it was a great moment for me, and how I remember my dad and so on. I mean, you just highlighted that, and it's brought a story about Frank Bruno to me. When I was I used to play football with my mates, and things like that. One of our players used to be a cabbie, and I think it was Ilford. I think it was Ilford actually, that we were driving along late at night. And there was my mate and myself. We'd had a couple of beers in the back, and we were driving along. Anyway, we came to some lights. I always remember this. Not some lights. We came to probably, 100 yards from some lights. And as we were going along, my mate said, "That's Frank Bruno, right? Walking along." So I thought, "Wow!" Right. So anyway, pulled the window down and we slowed down. And I said, "Frank, nice to meet you." It was Joe, right lads. And I said, anyway, my mate, who was drunk, he's put his head through the window and said, "You're rubbish. You couldn't hit a barn door." Right? So I've looked at him. Anyway, Frank Bruno's come running to the cab. So I'm saying to my mate, "Go, go, go." Anyway, so we went, and we got to the lights, and it went red. So Frank Bruno's seen that. So he's chasing us to get to the cab. And he almost got to us, but my mate went through the red light. I mean, can you imagine? He would have pulled my mate out, and he would have given him a right tonk. Yeah, your mate would have been that
true story. No, that's a true story. Okay, going back to what I think it was one of the callers just came in with about the Brazilian World Cup winners with Pelé and Jairzinho and people like that. That was unbelievable. I mean, there you go, 2008 Brazil. That team was incredible. I mean, you could literally say that every single one of those players would have been player of the year in their country because they were so good. But it just shows you how good Pelé was. He was head and shoulders above all of those. And it was just a wonderful team. Wonderful team. You never get a team as good as that. What do you think, Steve? Would you reckon the best team you would have thought was seen?
Yeah.
Apart from Arsenal, that is.
Obviously, I did watch a lot of that World Cup on YouTube because it's readily available now. But seeing that, cause I didn't really understand how great Pelé was. It was before my sort of generation. Unfortunately, being a little bit younger than yourself, Calvin. Not by much, I can tell, but
Didn't I get that? When I meet Steve, I get that all the time. His wife and I were talking, and we mentioned Rumbelows. I don't know if you remember Rumbelows. Yeah. And Steve went, what was that?
Well, on the way back from the video shop, was that, Calvin?
Yeah, Blockbusters, yeah. No, it was funny, man. But I mean, I can't believe that a team will ever be as good as that to win the World Cup. They were just sensational at the same time. So it was really, really good. But I think that's me done, Carl, as in information-wise, mate. But
what a professional! It's bang on 11 o'clock. What have you got for us next week then, as a talking point? Because
look, Pelé versus Maradona. That to me is something to discuss. But I saw Maradona play personally, and he was some player, but he can't. He was a cheat. So I'm not. on the thing. He was a cheat.
And on that bombshell,
he handballed it. I'll send you out what the topic will be on the Facebook.
yeah, we got a Facebook group, the Expat Sport Report community group there on Facebook, which we can laugh at ourselves and each other about our predictions during the week. Thank you so much, Calvin. Been brilliant as usual with your sporting genius and knowledge and analysis. Steve, great to meet you, and thanks for joining us today. Really, really appreciate being here. And good luck.
Steve.
With that fixture. Look forward to. I mean, feel free to come back next weekend, and we'll rake the coals, the ashes, and see what's what. And thanks as well to Frank who joined us. Wonderful to see you guys. Sorry couldn't participate. You really did, despite not being able to connect with the audio. You delivered a manful performance despite those circumstances, and he's promising to put it out for next week. So yeah, we'll see you back on screen. Owen, you're welcome. Wayne, you're welcome. You can get up to 10 people on here. We could have a hell of a lot of fun. Take care, both of you. Have a great weekend.
Cheers. See you later. Bye.
The Good Morning Portugal Expat Sport Report.